Welcome to another literary masterpiece episode of the Maz's Musings podcast. This week, I talked with AJ Wolfe, who is the creator of the DisneyFoodBlog and the author of her first book entitled Disney Adults. We'll talk a lot about the DisneyFoodBlog and how it got started and evolved. And we'll also talk about Disney Adults, which is really an examination of, well, people like me and people like AJ. It's a great conversation. We had a lot of fun. We even had a little lightning round, so to speak, where I asked her a couple of what I thought might be tough questions, but really turned out not. But before we get into our main topic of the week, we will, of course, have Meghan's Cuckoo Bananas joke of the week.
And now it's time for Meghan's
Cuckoo bananas joke.
Hi, Meghan.
Hi.
Do you have a joke for us?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
What always comes at the beginning of a parade?
I don't know. What always comes at the beginning of a parade?
The letter P.
That's a good one.
Okay,
say goodbye.
Bye.
Well, now that you have had a chance to laugh, now you'll have a chance to smile even more because we're just going to be talking about Disney. And here we go.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. And here we go!
All right. I am here with AJ Wolfe, who is the creator of the DisneyFoodBlog and also the author of Disney Adults, Exploring and Falling in Love with a Magical Subculture. And welcome, AJ, to the Maz's Musings podcast. Usually at this point, I give you the opportunity to tell people a little bit more about yourself personally and go fire away.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me on. AJ Wolfe, like you said, I run DisneyFoodBlog.com. We've got, a blog, YouTube, all kinds of social media channels. I've been doing this for about 16 years. Actually longer than that, because I've been doing this since before we even started DisneyFoodBlog. And so, yeah, the big news is that my new book is coming out August 5th with Simon & Schuster. It's called Disney Adults. And it is all about the subculture that nobody quite knows what to do with. A lot of people are very confused by Disney Adults, don't understand who they are, why they exist. And ever since COVID, I feel like this has been a subculture that's been particularly sort of bashed online. So it was time to really deep dive and talk about who this group is.
Now, before we get into the book, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the kind of the origin story of the DisneyFoodBlog. You said that you were doing this even before the blog was the blog, but kind of walk me through a little bit of the history of the DisneyFoodBlog.
Sure. Yeah. So I say I was doing this even beforehand because my husband and I were running Disney related websites even 2 years before we started DisneyFoodBlog. because we were living in different states and it was an opportunity for us to do a hobby together. And so in 2006, 2007 is when we sort of started to do Disney websites. And then in 2009 is when we started DisneyFoodBlog. And so that's kind of the origin of it, is basically it's something that I wanted to exist and it didn't exist. Back then, websites were not niched. They were, talking about Disney as a whole, and nobody really gave what I thought was the necessary, I guess, credit to the food. I mean, it's something everybody had to pay for when they were at Disney, but you didn't have any information. You didn't have the menu. Disney didn't post the menus online back then. You didn't have any food pictures. All you knew was the names of the restaurants and where they were. And back then you had to book 6 months in advance. And I'm like, why, how do I know where to go to eat if I don't have any information about it, except like that this is the name of the restaurant. That's it. That's all I have. So I really wanted there to be some sort of service or, some sort of platform where people were talking about the food and sharing pictures and being honest about their reviews, because you're going to spend more on food than you're going to spend on even your hotel or your park tickets when you go to Disney World. So we created it.
Now, did you ever anticipate that it would grow to the level it's grown? I mean, you're reaching thousands of people and you're covering all kinds of topics, even beyond, food and everything like that. You're really all encompassing with the Disney experience. Did you ever think that you would reach this point with this, with this blog? And I'd imagine maybe not, because the internet has exploded into a completely different thing.
We started when, Facebook was a baby, Twitter was just starting, Instagram did not exist. There was no social media for all intents and purposes. Everything was blog based. And even back then, if you read an article online, it wasn't a visual experience. You didn't have big pictures. You had little tiny pictures, like situated like this every once in a while in the article. And so the way that we do DisneyFoodBlog just didn't exist back then. So it was kind of revolutionary in the space, because we started out with these giant pictures because we knew that it was a visual subject and that people wanted to see what they were going to get at restaurants. And so I think, to answer your original question, did I know it would get this big? No, because I didn't know. None of this stuff existed back then, and there was really no way. We were thinking, that this was a good idea, that if I wanted it to exist, probably other people did too. But you never know if your timing is right. And it turns out that our timing was right, that people were ready for that. And then when, of course, Twitter and Instagram came in, you had more visual platforms. And then people had smartphones, which, again, when I first started this, I was in the restaurants with my giant DSLR, my big Canon, taking pictures. And people thought I was crazy to take pictures of my food. And that was such a weird thing to do. And why would you do that? But obviously, things have changed drastically. And now it is, it is a meme that everybody, food eats first, right? So your camera eats first is what people say. Your camera eats first. So it just sort of became the norm for people to expect to take pictures of their food and to post pictures of their food. So we just kind of came in at just the right time.
Now, with as much, saturation with all kinds of, even Disney themselves, really kind of profiling things like their food offerings more and more. How have you found new ways to connect with your audience and make sure you don't get lost in the noise?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because that's something that I think anybody in new media is going to have to figure out. You can set the trends, you can start a trend, and then everybody else starts doing it, and you've got to figure out what the next thing is, right? And so that's basically our job every single day, is figuring out what our audience needs, what are other people not talking about, and not where are the holes in the information that's being shared, and how can we use our resources and our bandwidth to make sure that people are getting the value that they need. And that's, back in the day when it was just blogging, people would always ask, how do you keep thinking of more things to write about? And I'm like, that has never been a problem. There is so much to talk about when it comes to Disney World, Disney restaurants, Disney rides, everything. There's so much to talk about. And then even if you've talked about a particular restaurant, okay, but I still want to know about this particular item, or I still want to know about what's the best table, or I still want to know, I want to know all that stuff. And so to me, there's just so much more I want to share. There's so much more I want to talk about, and I'll never get to the end of it. So the big question is, how is it through words? Is it through pictures? Is it through video? And of course, that we've gone through that evolution with media. And so we're just waiting to see what's going to come after video. Are we going to be doing holograms? Are we going to be doing, what are we going to be doing next? Because I think, okay, we're on video, but there's got to be what's coming. Is it going to be VR? You know what I mean? So what's next? And that's kind of my job, is to always be looking at what's coming down the pike. How do we use AI as a tool to make sure that our audience gets everything that they need to not waste a bunch of money when they go to Disney World?
One of the things that I really like about the Disney Food Blog is it really approaches everything in a very authentic way. There's not a lot of, I don't want to say gimmick to it, but it feels very much like the way that I'd approach it. A lot of it is, I feel like after reading something or consuming something through it, I feel more like I've just had a conversation about it, as opposed to, somebody just trying to show me something or trying to make something look a certain way so that it'll garner a reaction. So that's one of the things that I've really appreciated about it. I feel like that's the aim.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, why we got so big so fast, is because I have zero desire for you to look at me or care about me. And that's what I think the different, I think a lot of influencers today are very much about, pay attention to me, give me credit for things. I don't care. Don't look at me at all, please. I don't even have any makeup. My goal is to make sure that my buddies, my friends out there who are reading this are going to get what they need, and are going to get, are going to see all of my mistakes and errors and where I screwed up in what I ordered or where I went or whatever, and not make the same mistake. And so that's always been the goal for me. And I've always treated it as though I am talking to my best friend about something. Right. And that's something that I've worked with my writers on a lot too, is we're so big now that I think people can sometimes, and even our writers sometimes, see us as this faceless, mass. And it's like, no, we're still writing to our best friends. We're still writing to the people. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, there is an ER nurse who works overnights, and she uses our blog to escape at the end of a shift, and then there's this college kid who's, going through a huge breakup, and he just really needs to laugh, or he just really needs to find some magic in his day. And it's like, that's who we're writing for, right? We're not writing for like Rando McRanderson, wherever. I mean, we're writing for people just like us who love Disney and who can't be there right now, who are counting down the days to their trips and are like, how do I make sure that I get the right stuff? I'm only there for 5 days. How do I make sure I get to try everything I want to try? Do I need to move this down the list and this up the list? You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is important stuff. And I get that it's not like earth-shattering, but it is important. People are spending so much money. And anyway, back to your original question. Yes, that is how I approach it. That's how I've always approached it, is like, y'all need to know about this because there is so much cheese in here, because that's, to me, that's what I would want to know about. And you see, I'm getting animated with this, but it's very important to me to be able to have that back and forth conversation. I don't care how many people are on the other side of the screen. Like, I will I need you to know about this, and that's just how, and then I also want you to know when I screwed up and I wandered around for like an hour trying to find my room at Port Orleans Riverside, and it was dark and it all looked the same, and I don't know how to find it. And I'm like pulling up like Google Maps. I'm like, where's my room? Do they have like numbers on the little buildings on Google Maps? Could not find my room. Every single quiet pool looks the same. I hadn't even had a drink. I hadn't even drunk anything. I was just having some jambalaya over. Anyway, you get it. But like, I want people to know where you can screw up and waste your time and waste your money and not to do that.
Now, moving on to the book a little bit, but before, so is this your first, or have you written books before?
So we've done all the DFB guides, right? All the books that we sell on our website. Those are PDFs. So they're not book. They're not like, ooh, Big Five publisher book, So yes, this is my first like Big Five publisher, Simon and Schuster, like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening kind of thing. So I'm very excited, but also it's all new to me, and I'm just like deer in headlights with. I was deer in headlights with the whole thing. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So, but it was wonderful. It was a dream come true to be able to do it, because I've always wanted to write a book.
Now, you're someone who, if I'm not mistaken, you've always been someone who's loved Disney since you were young.
Yep.
Me, I'm actually I'm a newfound Disney adult, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
My wife, actually, when I met my wife, she was a Disney, quote unquote, Disney adult, and when I first really kind of fell in love with it was, she said, "Hey, can we do Disney for our honeymoon?" And I was just like, "Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, sure, we can do that." Because I'm not a beach person, so it was just like, "Yeah, let's do something that's going to be fun."
Yeah.
And that trip was incredible. Of course, it was our anniversary. We got to ride on Mickey's float or Jeep or whatever it was in the Gem and Jungle Parade at Animal Kingdom.
Yes.
With the little vests on and everything. So,
oh my gosh,
that was a great experience. And we thought at the time that, well, maybe we'll do this like every 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we went back for our 5th anniversary. And then everything started spiraling out of control, and now we're DVC members. And my daughter, who's 7, has been to Disney more times than I had been. Like leading up to my adult life.
With it now, she's done with it.
She's written everything. She's not, but the funny, what I tell people is, our home resort is Wilderness Lodge, and this is a girl who you blindfold her and spin her around 3 times in her own bedroom, and she won't be able to figure out where she is.
Right.
But if you drop her anywhere at Wilderness Lodge or at any of the parks, she could lead a tour.
Isn't it wild? Like, yes, we love what we love. The heart wants what the heart wants.
So I guess I'm curious as to, being a Disney adult and being immersed in this, I'm curious as to what inspired you to really dive into this subject. It really is an interesting subculture, and one that, truthfully, I have a hard time explaining to people at times. So why don't you kind of expand a little bit on what drew you to this being the subject of your first book?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like, Simon and Schuster had come to me and asked me to do a book, and we were kind of trying to throw some ideas out there of what would make sense. And this was kind of the topic that I think we landed on because it is so controversial right now. There are people on dating sites in like Orlando and Anaheim who literally have on their profile no Disney adults. Like, they don't want to date a Disney adult. They want nobody, and there are so many viral TikToks, and there's memes, and there's, it's even been done as major, sketch comedy. So everybody knows about Disney adults, but they don't actually know anything about Disney adults. They don't know about um, the subculture, the community. They don't know how many of us there are. There are a lot of us. And they also don't really know. I think that the stereotype is so prevalent, and there's so little to show the rest of the iceberg, right? Like they see the tip of the iceberg. They've seen those viral TikToks. They don't really know where all of that comes from. Now, what I'm very honest that the stereotypes are there for a reason. There are a lot of Disney adults that a lot of us don't want to claim. I think that a lot of people will not say that they're Disney adults because of that. But the goal was really to just dig into it, interview a whole bunch of people who considered themselves Disney adults, and really figure out the reality of, are those stereotypes true? Why do people hate Disney adults? Is there any redeeming factor here? And then moving into, do Disney adults, this is the part that I don't think Simon & Schuster asked for, but it was the part I was really interested in, was like, do Disney adults actually affect Disney's choices? Like, do they pay attention to us? Do they pay attention to what's on social media and the groundswell stuff? And how could this particular giant community change the choices that this huge media conglomerate is making? And I think that we do. I think that we do have an impact on what Disney decides to do. I think it's fascinating just here as this book is coming out that Disney just opened an adults only lounge in a theme park, which they had never had before. That's a big deal, that they're basically like, yeah, there's enough adults here without kids that we are going to give real estate in a theme park over to those adults. So I think that says a lot. And so that was the really fun part for me too, was digging into, does Disney listen to us? Do we have a say?
Yeah. Yeah. So, how long were you working on this book? Like, how long did it take you to go from concept to, okay, I'm ready to hand this over to Simon & Schuster and the editors?
About a year and a half I was working on it. And and that's from like pitch to final version. Here you go. I don't get any more say, and we're printing it, which is pretty quick, for a 272 page book with that much research that goes into it. Because I interviewed so many people and had so much transcription, Chris. But it was, it was a lot, because the other thing I really wanted to do is make sure that I did justice to this group of people, to my tribe, my family of Disney adults. Wanted to make sure that I said everything that needed to be said in here. Because it's not a defense of Disney adults. It is absolutely putting us under the microscope so that people can get a better idea of who we are, what drives us, what motivates us, why people hate us, and does it matter? Does it matter to us at all? So there's just so much in here that I don't think anybody would ever expect to be here. So yeah, it took about a year and a half, but that was a lot, that was a lot of late nights and a lot of hours each day.
Now, is this more aimed at, at the Disney adults like me, or is this more kind of like, hey, everybody else, get to know us?
It's both, honestly, because I don't think Disney adults know Disney adults, really. I think that they've seen all of the stereotypes too, and they have their own opinions. But what this book kind of does for Disney adults is lets you see that you're not alone, and that a lot of people have the same opinions you do, or a lot of people are annoyed by the stereotypes. And one very interesting thing I figured out real quick when I started interviewing people is that Disney adults hate Disney adults too. So that was something very interesting to kind of reach into, is like, okay, what, because I would ask everybody I interviewed, do you get a lot of flack from your work colleagues, your family, whatever, because you're a Disney fan, right? And you keep going back to Disney World again. And the responses that I kept getting, which is not what I expected, were like, yeah, a little bit, but I don't really care about that. What I really hate is other Disney adults. And it was like, whoa, wait, what? And so that was very interesting to kind of, I'm like, this is not what I expected, and this is not in my pitch. So you guys need to ask it. But it's true. Like there are, tendencies of some of our group to do things that are, kind of inappropriate and weird. And so I think that talking about that, bringing that onto the open and being like, yeah, this happens and we own it. But then also talking about, giving the true stories of the people who have gone into it a little bit too far, maybe gotten a little addicted, maybe spent a little bit too much money that they didn't have to spend, like myself, going into some of those. So I think there's a lot of anthropological, like a look at who we are. So it is for Disney adults. It's not like Disney's great, isn't it? But it is, this is really cool. This is who we are. Like, let's, come meet more of us. So it's good for both. It's good for the people who are picking up and going, what in the world is this? And it's good for people who are picking it up and going, maybe there's other people like me in here,
Mm-hmm. One thing that I've especially found, and, I'm relatively new to my Disney adultism, it seems like there's much more of if a woman claims to be a Disney adult, there's a lot more like, oh well, that figures. Now I'm about 6 feet, 250 pounds, and people look at me sideways when I'm just like, hey, here I am in my Mickey Mouse shirt, and I'm unlike so many. I feel like there's almost a hesitance among men to fully embrace it. So many times around the park, you'll see guys wearing shirts that are just saying, I'm just here to pay, or, things like that,
Most expensive day ever.
Yeah. And, I feel like it's been hard for a lot of men who may fully embrace it to admit that they do admit it, like it's a problem, but to really own and appreciate what they're doing and everything like that. So I that's an interesting part of this whole. There are people who have been going to Disney who are DVC members who are just like, yeah, I go because the kids like it. And it's just like,
right.
Yeah, you like it too, don't
right.
Right. It's like, it's okay. It's okay that you like this. It's okay that you love this. So
yeah, yep.
And
Absolutely.
it's great when you're able to find those people who are embracing it. And sometimes it comes in places where you wouldn't expect.
1,000%. And I do dig into this a little bit in the book, because while it's very, very difficult to find demographic data on Disney adults, obviously nobody's really studying them. Well, they are actually. There's a lot of academics studying Disney adults right now. That's what just hasn't been, released yet as papers. But Disney doesn't publish its demographics of who goes into their parks, right? So you kind of have to get it from third parties, and you can go to see what are the demographics of Disney Plus subscribers. You can get it through back doors sometimes, but Disney doesn't publish that stuff. So it's hard to come up with it. But what numbers I did come up with do show that Disney adults tend to skew female and tend to skew gay sometimes as well, homosexual men. And so I think that that's one of the first problems that we have, is that people are casting stereotypes and making assumptions about Disney fans, not recognizing the true breadth of the audience here. And I think also the other thing that's very hard for heterosexual men is that one of the issues that people have with Disney adults is that they like something that's for kids, right? And so, or at least people think it's for kids, right? Which obviously isn't true. Disney just created an adults only lounge in one of their theme parks, right? So that is 1,000% not true, but it is the assumption. It is the stereotype that Disney is for kids. And so it's okay for a woman to like something that's for kids. You know, women are basically kids anyway, right? According to like many academics in the Victorian era, right? So it's taken us a long time to be recognized as actual fully grown adult humans and not just children. But for heterosexual men, it's much harder to like something that's for kids because of everything that goes along with that. So that's the part that I think is so hard for dudes to say, yeah, I love Disney World. And so they have to almost hide it behind like, you know, oh, I really like the Imagineering, you know, like they have to do that sort of, it can't just be something magical that they feel happy when they're there. They're, for some reason, they're not allowed to feel happy. And so I think that's a fascinating book in and of itself is, you know, gender splits in some of these hobbies. Like, are women allowed to be football fans, or does that somehow, you know, I'm a huge football fan, I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan. And like, I have to prove myself in every single situation where I'm talking about football because people are like, she doesn't really like she doesn't really know, you know, what a 2-point conversion is. You know what I mean? And so I have to do the same thing when it comes to football is I have to like somehow fit in. Anyway, I could talk about this for ages. It's fascinating to me. But yeah, I think those are two main pieces that a lot of times will make heterosexual men not feel like they can be part of this tribe.
And, you know, I used to, when people used to ask me, I used to try to come up with like a somewhat tangible reason for it. It's just like, well, my job is so stressful. When I'm in the Disney bubble, there's, you know, I don't really have to worry about anything. And then one day I just kind of realized I just love it. I don't need to have a reason why, you know, this is just something that, you know, it's part of what we do. It's part of our family's traditions. And, you know, I'm not ashamed of that or, you know, afraid to admit it. So, you know, and God bless anybody who, you know, has anything that they really, really love, they shouldn't really have to explain themselves, you know, for it.
Absolutely. I think that's 1,000% it. And that's what I loved so much about doing this book is, you know, you asked me who it's for. And the truth is that what Disney adults are is a microcosm of humanity, right? Like we're getting, you know, we're getting maligned for loving something we're not supposed to love, or we're getting maligned for, you know, liking something that's for kids, or, you know, spending too much money on a vacation. You know, there's so many things people can hate us for. And I think that the bottom line is that we're running towards something that makes us happy, that brings us joy. And as adults, we're not really supposed to be happy and feel joy, right? We're supposed to work hard and be stressed. And so I think that showing that people are running towards something that brings them, you know, positive mental health, joy with their family, etc., and kind of running away from stuff that is negative and makes us feel bad or bad about ourselves. That's what all humans are doing. And so we're really just looking at, okay, this is how Disney adults happen to do it and why.
All right. Well, anything else you'd like to add about the book before, you know, we have a little fun? I've got a few questions
so
here.
Many things. I want to talk about the book for the next 2 hours, Chris. No, just go buy it. You can buy it it comes out August 5th, but you can pre-order it now, which is a huge deal because if the New York Times is going to put me on their bestseller list, it's going to be from pre-orders. So go to ajwolfe.com. There's lots of links there you can order from. Please do. Even if you just have like a sister who's a Disney adult and you want to buy it for her, that's fine. I'll take it.
All right. Well, I can't wait to get my copy. So I'll be sure to be watching for that.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a few questions for you. I did throw you a few of these beforehand. So these are just a couple fun questions that I thought that would be you would be a good authority to answer them for us.
All right. Ready.
So, what's your favorite Disney food or snack at the Disney parks right now?
It's so tough because we have to go through, is it sit down? Is it a snack? Is it table service? Right now, I am very hungry and I could really go for a Le Cellier ribeye at the moment. So right now, that's what I want. Ask me tomorrow and I could want a Dole Whip float, So it changes all the time. But tonight, I would really enjoy going to Le Cellier and having a ribeye and some cheddar cheese soup and some poutine.
Sounds great. I feel like I should have prepared you beforehand, kind of braced you for the fact that you're talking to someone who, while a Disney adult, has never had a Dole Whip.
Oh, that's okay. It's all right. I forgive you and it'll be fine. You'll get there. We'll get there together.
All right. So is there an old favorite that you wish that they would bring back to the parks? A food item. Well, we can do food item, or we can do, anything else too.
Oh, if you start getting into 1980s Epcot rides, then we'll be here all day. So like all Kitchen Cabaret, please bring back Kitchen Cabaret. Please bring back. And I know you didn't get that. You sadly, Chris, did not get the chance to see Kitchen Cabaret, and that breaks my heart for you. And you didn't get to ride World of Motion. You didn't get to go on Horizons, and we will forgive you, but it is a black mark on your record. But when it comes to food item, what I wish, and again, we're going back to 1985 Epcot, the Garden Grill restaurant in the Land Pavilion used to be called, and now I can't remember what it was. I can't remember the name, but it used to be a fancy restaurant with like red velvet booths and stuff. And they would bring over with your bread basket a statue of Mickey made out of butter. And that's what you would get to use for your bread. And I'm just like, that is the best thing in the world. Like, how do I get a statue of Mickey butter, please, every day? I wanted to take it home with me. And of course you can't because rancid. But that I would love if they would bring back statue of Mickey butter. I don't want a milk chocolate Mickey like you can get in the resorts. I want a statue of Mickey butter. That would just be everything to me.
Well, maybe not so much at the Disney parks, but I'm here in Western Massachusetts. We have the Eastern States Exposition, which is the big, they combine the state fairs for all of them in one place here, and they always have a butter sculpture. So maybe I can put a word in and say, hey,
yes,
maybe a giant Mickey butter sculpture. Like we're talking 6 feet tall.
Yes, I think that needs to happen. Now I used to live in New Hampshire, and maybe I need to call in some of my Vermont buddies to make me a giant Mickey butter sculpture and just send it down in dry ice. And maybe that's what we need to do. There has to be someplace online that will make me a Mickey butter sculpture.
I was last week I had another author on doing an interview, and one of the things he said is not everything online is bad, so perhaps this is one of those not bad things on the internet we could find.
Maybe we'll see.
All right, I've got one more for you, and this one's a little tougher.
All right.
You're asking one Disney character to whip up your dream Disney food concoction.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you asking, and what would they be making for you?
Mickey Mouse would make me Mickey butter. This isn't hard at all. Like, that was easy.
Okay.
Done. Done and done. How much fun would that be? Oh my gosh, I can picture him right now in the kitchen with a little butter mold in his little hands, and he's pouring the butter in with his little gloves, and he'd be so happy to give it to me because he know how happy it would make me to have that. So there we go.
Oh, that is great. Well,
Pretty
now
easy.
that's an image I'm not going to be able to get out of my head. I'm going to be
can't
smiling thinking about that for
Yes,
for a while.
he would be. You know how happy he would be. He'd be so excited to make that, and he would look. He'd point at it, and he'd point at himself, and he'd point at it, and he'd point at himself. Oh, he would love it. Then he'd do a little heart like that. Oh, heart.
Oh, very nice. All right. Well, thank you very much, AJ, for taking the time. This was a lot of fun. If you wanted to give us the information on where we can find the book, find more about you, find the food blog, find whatever we need to find.
Sure. Disney Food Blog. You're going to find that online, DisneyFoodBlog.com. All socials is at DisneyFoodBlog. And then our YouTube channel is DFB Guide. So youtube.com/DFB Guide. Again, every link to buy the book that's coming out August 5th, you can head over to ajwolfe.com, and we've got links to Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target, Amazon. They're all there for you to grab. So that's where you find everything.
Very nice. All right. Well, thank you again for taking the time. I very much appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the book. And when can we? So we're doing pre-sales now, and
right. Pre-sales now. People who pre-order will get it on the 5th or the 6th, and then they're good to order, and you can get so hardcover, ebook, audiobook, all those.
All right, great. Well, I look forward to it, and thank you very much for the time, and I'll see you real soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, it is clear that AJ is someone who is passionate about getting to know people and getting to know their stories, and also helping them know more about Disney and about the parks and what's going on. And you know who else is really passionate about all that stuff and can help you have a great Disney vacation? That's We Do Travel Right. We Do Travel Right will offer that one-on-one service with an agent, but that agent also has the power of a team behind them. And that team includes the dining team. So after you have gone and read the Disney Food Blog, then you can go to your agent and say, hey, I'm interested in eating here. And the dining team at We Do Travel Right will help you get that reservation and make sure you get it at the time that's great for you, and will help your family have a great experience. They'll also help you with your park tickets, with your hotel reservations, with understanding the ins and outs of the park and things like the app. And of course, if there are any deals out there, they know about all of it, and they will help you get the best deal that will fit your family and your vacation. And the best part about all of it is the services are free. Yeah, you do not pay We Do Travel Right anything extra to use their services. That's because places like Disney or Universal or cruise lines or all-inclusives pay We Do Travel Right for you, because they are already building the price of an agent into their prices. So you're paying for the agent, whether you use it or not. So doesn't it just make sense to use the agent? So go to WeDoTravelRight.com/Mazza. That's WeDoTravelRight.com/Mazza. Fill out the form and get your next magical vacation started today.
Now I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner.
See you real soon.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of the Mazza's Musings podcast, and thank you to AJ for joining me. This was a lot of fun, and man, I'm a little hungry now. That Le Cellier steak is sounding mighty tempting right now. Anyway, If you would like to tell us what your favorite food items at Disney World are, or answer a couple of the other questions that I posed to AJ, you can feel free to reach out to us. You can find us at the Maz's Musings podcast on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Maz's Musings Pod. We are also on TikTok and Blue Sky, and we are on YouTube as well. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can find this and more information on our website, which is mazasmusings.wordpress.com. While you're there, you can find past episodes, information on me and this podcast, so you can get to know me a little bit more. And you can also sign up for our newsletter. Now, the newsletter is something that comes out once a week and goes right into your inbox, and it'll give you information on what you might have missed in some past episodes, what we've got coming up in future episodes. Sometimes we will have information on sweepstakes, contests, or news that we've found interesting that we think you'll find interesting as well. I'm always excited to have people join this community. So obviously word of mouth is the best way to get people on board. Telling your friends, saying, hey, I listened to this great podcast the other day. Always great. But you can also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcatcher, which will help us be more visible and bump us up in those algorithms that put us in front of more people so that they can discover this podcast and join the community. If you're looking to level up your sponsorship a little bit more, you can buy us a blue milk. And buying us a blue milk gives you a way to help us monetarily with some of the small costs that go into putting this podcast together. Whether you're listening or buying a blue milk or anything in between, we appreciate all the support. As always, I want to thank everybody for listening once again. And I hope you have a great weekend and a great week. For the Maz's Musings podcast is brought to you by Hi Dad Soup. Check them out at Mickey and Minutes on Instagram.